Well, hello there, everyone. Today is one of my favorite stories, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one knows quite why. It could be because his head was not screwed in quite right. It could be perhaps his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour Grinch frown at the warm lighting windows below the town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow's Christmas and it's practically here. Then he growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously trumpeting. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They rush to get their toys, and then, the noise! The noise! That's one thing he hated. The noise! Then the Who's, the young, the old, would sit down and have a feast. They'd feast, and then they feast, and then they feast, and then feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand the least. And then they do something he liked least of all. Every Who in Whoville, the tall and the small, they'd stand close together with their bells ringing. They stand hand to hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing, and they'd sing. The more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more he thought, I must stop the whole thing. Why, for over 53 years, I put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming now. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what I'll do, the Grinch laughed. And he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need now is reindeer. The Grinch looked around. There was no reindeer, because reindeer are scarce and none to be found. But that did not stop the old Grinch. No, the Grinch simply said, If I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one myself. So he called his dog Max. Max! Then he took some thread and he tied a big horn on top of Max's head. Then he loaded some bags and some empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up poor old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh went straight down towards the homes of all the Who's. They lay snoozing in their town. All the windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were dreaming sweet dreams without a single care. When he came to a little house on the square, "This is stop number 1!" the old Gritchy Klaus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, he knew he could do it too. He got stuck only for once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace where little Who stockings all hung in a row. Those stockings are the first to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room, he took every present. Pop guns, bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorns, and even plums. He stuffed them in the bags. Then the Grinch, very nimbly, stuffed all the bags one by one up into the chimney. Then he slunk into the icebox. He took the Who's feast, he took the Who pudding, he took the Who roast beef. He cleaned out the ice book as fast as a flash. Why, the Grinch even took the last cache of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with a glee. "And now," he grinned, "I will stuff up that tree." And the Grinch grabbed the tree. He started to shove it when he heard a small sound of a coo, of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou, who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny little Who daughter, who got out of the bed with a cup of cold water. She stared at Grinch and said, "Santa, why are you taking our Christmas tree?" But you know, the old Grinch was pretty smart and slick. He thought up a quick lie, and he thought it up pretty quick. "Why, my little sweet tot," the fake Santa Claus lied. "I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there. I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her on the head, got her to drink, and sent her off to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with a cup, he went up the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was a log on the fire. Then up the chimney himself, the old liar. On the walls, he left nothing but hooks and a little bit of wire. And the one speck of food that was left in the house was a crumb too small for even a mouse. Then he did the same thing to other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for even a mouse. It was 1:15 dawn. All the Who's were still in bed. All the Who's were snoozing. When he packed up his sled, packed up all the presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. "3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip top to dump it. Poo-poo to woos! He was a Grinchly humming. They'll find out now that no Christmas is coming. They'll just be waking up. I'll know what they're due. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, said the Grinch. I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. He did not hear a sound of rising over the snow. It started low. It started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. The sound was merry? But that couldn't be. It was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What was shocking surprise? Every single Who down in Whoville, the tall, the short, were singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How can this be? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled for 3 hours till he was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't done before. Merry Christmas, he thought. It doesn't come from a store. Merry Christmas, perhaps, means a bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he wheezed his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back all the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef. Well, thank you for listening to this story. Hope you have a great week.